Basma Abdelaziz, you're a writer, an artist. You have several publications, but there's just one that has been published in Italy, is this one, La Fila.
Yeah.
And you are also a psychiatrist. You have done medical studies and you practice as a psychiatrist in a center that is about rehabilitation of victims of torture. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your nickname is the Rebel, which is very powerful, which is a very powerful nickname. And you operate for human rights in every field of your life, in writings, in your psychiatrist life. And this, let's say, earned you some international honors. You've been awarded of leading global thinker title, but you have also underwent several difficult things like incarceration and a difficult experience. We will start with your novel, The Queue, La Fila.
Yeah.
It's the novel takes place in a dystopic universe, in a city, in a nameless city, but there's no clear references to Cairo or Egypt, but people can, let's say, read the political message behind. So the book has been published in 2013 after the movement, let's say, but it's been translated in Italian now that Al-Sisi is in power in Egypt. If you would have written it now, what would have you changed about it?
Well, actually, if I think to rewrite The Queue now, I will not change anything actually, because after the revolutionary movement which started in 2011, January 2011, we had some hopes. We had some slogans for our revolution. It's dignity, liberty, bread, social justice, and all of these words were not met, were not yet satisfied, and we are keeping looking after it. So I can write the same again, because I think that nothing has been changed since this time. Moreover, it's becoming worse and worse because socio-economic situation is deteriorating after devaluation of the Egyptian currency. The middle class is dropping to the level of poverty, and people are being detained, incarcerated more and more, subject to torture more and more, and they are actually waiting endlessly in front of this closed gate I wrote about in The Queue.
How much it is present your psychiatry background in your books, in particular in this one?
Okay, I guess studying psychiatry and especially psychology gave me a tool, a very strong and powerful tool to understand the human behavior, to know why do people do that, why do they behave this way. And so in all my writings you can find the psychological aspect. In The Queue in particular, you can find it in the questions I try to pose to the reader, like, why do people wait endlessly in front of the symbol of authority? Why they don't shout, they don't scream, they don't rebel against this? Why they don't just leave their places? Those are the questions I tried to pose, and I meant not to put answers, because I wanted the readers to think with me and to find their own answers, not only one answer. So
I have a quote from your book. It's in the very beginning. You have this description of Tarek, the doctor, and this description says that he was a man that didn't overstep boundaries, that didn't had problems or didn't wanted to create problems, and its life was always flown in a very ordinate and kind of predictable way. Um, After a while, we'll see Tarek being asked to make a choice between having no problems or saving a man's life. But how much this idea of normality, of not creating problems, of minding their own business, is present in today's people life in Egypt, in your opinion?
Okay, as you said, Tariq was an ordinary citizen. He was not a political dissident. He was not an opponent. He tried to live his life so peacefully and never said no to the authority and its rules and decrees and orders. But actually, this had never brought to him the peace, because he suffered in the novel an internal conflict between his duty as a doctor, between saving the life of a patient, and between obeying the rules and decrees and orders of the authority. So this model of Tariq is present this time so widely. So everyone want to live peacefully, okay, and everyone want to avoid problems with the authority, and this is because the consequences are too difficult to face, because the freedom of expression is just buried down. So you can say this is the ordinary model now. It's very widespread, it's pervasive, and I don't guess it's a solution.
You had to undergo the same question in your life. How did you find your personal answer to this conflict between doing what is right and staying safe in some way?
Yeah, let me say that shortly after I finished my study in the medical school, I was supposed to have my post as a member staff in the Department of Psychiatry in the university. And the State Security Intelligence prevented me from having this post. So I have chosen my way from the very beginning, and I made my mind that I will do what I think it's true, what I believe in, not what make me living in peace with the authority or to avoid being punished. So it was a very early decision in my life. So just after this, I went to work with the NGO dealing with victims of torture, rehabilitating them, and I continued this way.
Do you still think that it's worth it? Are you still optimistic about trying to change the world in which you're living? How can you be optimistic after all these years of trying to face this problem?
Yeah, I'm optimistic. I'm so optimistic, and I keep fighting against authoritarianism and repression. And actually, I believe that change is a process. It's a long process. It cannot be achieved in few days or even in few years. But once it starts, it will continue. So this makes me so optimistic, and I never give up.
It's wonderful to see you're still optimistic about it. And I just have a question related to the topic of this ChiassoLetteraria festival, which is the new world. We call it Il Mondo Nuovo, and the official translation in English says a brave new world, given this idea of brave and strong, like what is your idea of the brave new world?
Okay, a brave new world for me is much more like a state inside everyone. Okay, so when we believe we can create another new world, we can do it. It's just about our beliefs, what we have faith on. So although we can see all over the world the presence of repression, madness, fake news, lies, everything, we can see people who are still resisting and who are trying to create this new brave world, really. So this is my idea about it.
You come from Egypt, from Cairo, which is a complex situation, a special place on earth, and you come here in Chiasso, which is a very much smaller city and a very quiet place compared to Cairo, and you talk about your experience and your book, which is in some way very related to your surroundings culturally and socially. Do you think there's some let's say meaning that you can export here? What is your impression of the communication with the public here? Is there some underlying values in your book that you think people can relate everywhere in the world?
Okay, yeah. In my book, I never mentioned any sign to refer to place or to refer to time, because I thought that this idea of waiting endlessly and being tied to this authoritarian system could be universal idea, could happen everywhere, and that people can receive it and feel it, even if they are not ruled by dictatorship. And this is actually what's happening, because people are reacting to the novel, everyone through his own experience and his own culture. In US, people are talking about fake news and lies under Trump administration. I am still here, and I speak to people who have read the novel, and everyone can interpret and perceive it his own way. So I guess that actually, yeah, the world is now a small village, and people can react with each other, can feel what the other one feels. So I don't feel anything strange about this.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you here, and welcome to ChiassoLetteraria. I hope your time here is wonderful.
Thank you so much.